Hi folks, this is Vicki at patternprincess.com. Today I want to show you how to do the lemon peel stitch. It's a really pretty stitch that just has lots of texture, lots of little bumps. It feels really nice on the hands. This is a medium weight yarn. This one happens to be a Caron 1 pound that I used. Don't remember the color, just some leftover yarn. For this is a solid color sample. I've done another one here that uses Caron Simply Soft. And I used two light colors, so there's not a whole lot of contrast between the rows here. But if you're looking for a subtle change, this is a nice one to do. On this one here, I carried the yarn up the side instead of through my work. And it works out so nicely, I don't even know that you'd need a border to hide your edge, but you could do a border. I'm working on a bigger blanket now that has a variegated yarn and like a off-white yarn, a neutral yarn through it. This here is another one that shows a little bit more of the texture. I still got my stitch marker in to show you. Okay, so this is how it looks with a little bit more of a darker yarn. It's a dark blue with the gray. It's the same color gray that I had in the other one. So this is how it looks with a light one, and this is how it looks with a darker stripe. I like this one better myself. But it just gives a nice visual appeal, and it's not straight lines across because you have a little bit of a jagged part here from our different heights in the stitches, okay? And this stitch uses a single crochet and a double crochet. So I'm going to show you first how to do the lemon peel stitch itself in a solid color. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do this stitch by carrying the yarn through, changing colors, and then carrying the yarn up the side. Carrying the yarn up the side was tricky. Okay, so let me get going here, and then I'll show you how to do the lemon peel stitch in the solid color. Okay, so I just have a medium weight yarn. This is Furls yarn. Do I know the color? I think I can tell you the color. Patina is the color. It's a medium weight, and I'm using a Furls 5.5 eye hook. Okay, so let's go. We're gonna, any multiples of 2 plus 1, which is 3, so any odd number will work with this. So I'm going to do, let's do 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, now we're going to skip the first stitch. We're going to go working into the second chain. We're going to do a single crochet. So we insert our hook, yarn over, draw the yarn through, yarn over, draw it through 2 loops. In the next stitch, we are going to do a double crochet. So here's the next stitch. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, draw it through, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, draw it through 2 loops. That's your double crochet. In your next stitch, we're going to do a single crochet, yarn over and draw it through 2 loops here. Next one is a double crochet, yarn over, draw through 2 loops, the loop, yarn over, draw through 2 loops, and yarn over, draw through 2 loops. So we're going to continue alternating our single crochet and our double crochet stitches all the way across. And we started with a single crochet, so we're going to end with a double crochet. And if you do that and you don't have any stitches left, you've done it right. Everything counted right. Okay. So this is really the whole pattern almost right here. I'd like to show you row 2 so that you see, because really row 2 is the whole pattern, because you're actually working on top of stitches then rather than the chain stitch. But this is the pattern, and I'll show you how it looks. I ended with a double crochet. Okay, here is row 1 complete. It's row 1. Okay, I'm going to get more yarn. We're going to do row 2. Okay, let's turn our work. We're going to chain 1. That doesn't count as anything. Then at that very first stitch was our double crochet. We're going to do a single crochet right there on top of it. So we do our single crochet. Then in the next stitch, right here, this was a single crochet. So then we're going to do a double crochet on top of that. And we're going to repeat this all the way across. Every time that there's a double crochet, you're going to do a single crochet. Every time there's a single crochet, you're going to do a double crochet. So if you started off right and you continue to alternate between single crochet and double crochet, your stitches should all line up. But if you get mixed up or get, called away from your work in between, you can always pick up in the middle, because then you can tell where you need to place that next stitch. As long as you always place a single crochet on top of double crochet and a double crochet on top of single crochet, your pattern will come out correctly. And we're almost done with this row. And then I'm going to incorporate a color and show you how to carry this across. Now, I also want to talk about the last stitch. Okay, so this is row 2. This is the edge. Okay, where I started. This is the edge right now. If you were a newer crocheter, you might think that right here that you're done. There's actually a stitch right here. This is what we skipped. We skipped and started off for, we skipped a chain stitch and we started in the second stitch from the hook. The stitch that we skipped counts as a single crochet. If you don't crochet into that one, you're going to be 1 stitch short, and then your edge will curve in. And if you start with a single crochet, you should always end with a double crochet. Okay, so we're going to yarn over and do that last little hidden stitch there. This can slip a lot of people up. Now, when we look at it, do you see the difference? Now it's straight. And now you're going to start off nicely with the next row. So here we are at the end of row 2. And then I'm going to incorporate a color. And then I'm going to carry this yarn through, okay? Okay, I have a gray yarn that I'm going to incorporate here. I'm going to turn my work. I'm just going to bring my yarn through the hook, or through the loop, pardon me, with my hook. Okay, I have my 2 yarns here. I'm going to chain 1, but then I'm going to take my green yarn, the one I was working with, get that behind my work, and then I'm going to do my single crochet into the first stitch, just like we did the row before, but I'm going to make sure I catch my yarn behind it. Then yarn over, and then I'm going to do my double crochet, making sure I catch that yarn I'm carrying through, single crochet, and then we just carry this all the way through. So you absolutely can carry your yarn through, change color every other stitch, every other row, however you'd like to change color, you can carry this through. I generally don't carry my yarn through. I think it creates a lot of bulk. Sometimes I want bulk, but if you don't need the bulk, and I'm not changing color every few stitches, okay? Like if I was going to do a checkerboard pattern or something like that, that would be great to carry it through. But if I don't have to, I don't want to. And sometimes you can see it when you carry it through. This one keeps it pretty well picked up and hidden though. And then when you carry yarn through, you're going to want to make sure that you give it a little tug, just to make sure you don't have it puckering out anywhere. So this is how it looks. You really can't see the yarn carried through. It looks really nice, okay? And so we could change color again. Now we could flip back because my yarn is right here. I could flip back if I wanted to change color. You could either bring it through those last 2 loops here, or you could just go like this, tug your yarn in, do your chain 1, and then start off with your single crochet. Oopsies, I have to bring my yarn around to carry it through, don't I? See, I'm not used to carrying it through. And then we'll continue to yarn, carry this, and then crochet over the yarn. So this is how you could do color changes. And then there's another method. It did take me a while to figure it out. Okay, so this is how you can carry yarn through and have your, there, you had to snug that up, and have your color changes. This would work absolutely just fine. Okay, so let me show you how to carry the yarn through, or not carry the yarn up the side. Okay, let's talk about carrying the yarn up the side. So I've done row 1, and I've joined my yarn here. So I'm going to do my chain 1, and I'm going to be working with the blue yarn. My gray yarn, I'm going to leave the strand to the side. Okay, and I'm just going to, I got to make sure I don't go through my yarn tail. And I'm just going to crochet across without carrying the yarn. So there's my single crochet, my double crochet, and now I just continue to work all the way across, and I'm not carrying any yarn tails with me. And when I am done, the nice part is I don't have a whole lot of weaving to do, and I don't have a whole lot of bulk to my pattern, and I'm not carrying the unused yarn through, which is causing me to eat up more yardage. So if you're not wanting to use a bunch of yarn just to carry it through, we just got a little bit more left here, and then I'm going to show you the magic. So normally, here's my last stitch. I got to make sure I get that double crochet in that last single crochet stitch. Okay, so here's the end of row 2. What we have is our gray yarn from row 1 is hanging back over here. Okay, we joined our yarn, and then we have our yarn over here, our yarn tail. But now we'd normally turn our work and start working back this way. Well, the yarn that we need to change to is over here. So that means I'm not going to turn my work. I'm going to bring my yarn up right through here, but to hold this yarn over here, I'm going to place in a stitch marker. Okay, I had to get a stitch marker. I forgot to bring one. Okay, so here's my stitch marker. Now that'll hold that in place. So if you're not working on a nice big blanket or something, you don't have to worry about it. So now, here's where it's different. So we're going to bring our row 1 yarn up. Right here, remember when I had said earlier that if you have a single crochet, you're always going to double crochet on the top of that. If you have a double crochet, you're always going to single crochet. Once you get the first part of the row started correctly, you just continue to alternate single crochet and double crochet, and it'll work out correctly. So on this one here, we ended with a single crochet. So we're going to insert our hook, bring our yarn through, do our chain 1. We ended with a single crochet, so now we need to do a double crochet. Okay, and then we have a double crochet, so now we need to do a single crochet. Then we have a single crochet, we need to do a double crochet. Okay, and I'm going to continue this all the way through. I'm not worrying about carrying any other yarn. And the nice part is I'll meet my other yarn, and then I'll have it right there to crochet back the other way. This is to carry the yarn this way. The pattern itself is a repeat of rows 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the only difference is what you're starting with and ending with the row. That's the only difference. Once you get the stitches started, it's always the single crochet and double crochet alternating. Okay, and I have one more double crochet. And then we ended with a double crochet previously, so we're going to end with a single crochet. Now, now I have both of my yarns here. So now I do want to turn it, so I'm going to turn it. And what I do is I make some bigger loops. take my little stitch marker out. Okay, I'm going to be working with my blue yarn, so I'm going to snug up the gray, switch over to my blue, get my blue yarn I'm going to be working with. So now we are at row 1, 2, 3, we're at row 4. We ended with a single crochet, so that means start with a double crochet. So we're going to chain 1 and start with our double crochet in that first stitch. And now we continue to alternate. Oopsies, I double wrapped my finger. And then we single crochet in the next stitch and double crochet in the next. Okay, there's just two more rows to this repeat. But you notice I did not put a stitch marker in my gray yarn because that's trapped inside of that stitch. So by changing yarn color this way, I don't have to worry about a stitch marker. Only when I get to the end with this yarn right here, I'll put a stitch marker in this one. Okay. I'm going just a little bit faster here. My yarn is sticking. Okay, and then we had the double crochet, so I ended with a single crochet. Let's pop in our stitch marker. And then you guessed it, for this next row, we do not turn. Okay, we're at row 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to start with 5, but I'm going to get more yarn. Okay, so in this row here, we started with our double crochet. Then we had our single crochet next. Okay, so now we're going to, because it's a double crochet, we have to have a single crochet on top of there. So I'm going to put my hook in, bring up my gray yarn, draw it through, do my chain 1, and then right in that same stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. And now I just work across, just like normal, double crochet. What the hard part for me was figuring out what the pattern was. And it's really a repeat of 2 rows that'll start with a single crochet first, and 2 rows that'll start with a double crochet first. So it's pretty slick how this works out. And I don't have to carry the yarn up or through the work. It's just carrying it up the side. And carrying it up the side, I think it looks just as nice as if I carried it through the work. Now, if it was a longer area where I switched yarn and carried it up the side, then I might have a more unsightly mess, but not this one. Okay, there's my double crochet. Now I have both yarns again. That's row 5. We're going to move on to row 6 here in a second. So I turn it. I got a bigger loop. And I bring this, make this a little bit bigger loop. Take this out. I'll be working with my blue, so I just get that inside of the loop. Snug up my loop. Okay. I gotta get the right yarn here. Here we go. Make that smaller. Okay, now we finished with a double crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook here. Yeah, I'm going to insert my hook here, bring it through this yarn. So I have it in the loop. Then I'm going to do a chain 1. And then we're going to do a single crochet. And then a double crochet. And of course, you know the drill all the way across. Alternating between single and double. And it'll just take a few seconds here. As soon as I'm done, I'll show you how it looks on the sides. I didn't want to use a darker yarn for this row here for the training purposes because I didn't know if the stitches would show up well enough. And I want you to be able to see the stitches. So here we go, almost there. One more stitch. And that's a single crochet, so we end with a double crochet, and that's perfect. And then I would normally put my stitch marker in. Here's this side. And then here's this side where I have my gray. This is the 2 yarns that I started with, the 2 colors. that I could weave in at any time. But then here's the gray that was on this side. But this is how this side looks. And here's how my rows look. And that is how you can carry the yarn up the side using the lemon peel stitch. I hope that you've liked this tutorial and give this a try. I think that this is the prettiest sample that we have. But I really do hope that you give it a try and enjoy the stitch. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we will have the free pattern on patternprincess.com. Make sure you come and check us out.